All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews. And today we're starting the first episode of a new segment that I'm calling TMI, or Too Much Information with Rob. This was actually, I was thinking about changing my channel name to TMI, but I was talked down off the ledge on that. So I decided to turn it into something for the episodes that I do, the videos that I make, the content that I make, where we have a lot of stuff to say, maybe way more information than is necessary. And this is the inaugural episode of that. And for this inaugural episode, I have three of my favorite YouTubers here. I've got Marc, D, and Agent Williams himself, Don Willie. So why don't you guys introduce yourselves before we start talking? Right to my right is Marc from Enchantment of Eternity. Hey, Marc.
Hello. Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's great to be on. I think this is the first time I've been on your channel. So yeah, it's great to be here to talk about some movies that I may or may not like, but we'll get into that. And yeah, always great talking to you, hanging out with you guys. So thanks for having me.
And right below him, we have the man, the myth, the legend, the man who inspires me every day, Darrin Jakes from D's Reviews.
Thanks. You are very kind, Rob. I'm really excited to be here. Got so much to jump into. Yeah, I think there's going to be some great opinions and some not so great opinions, and I can't wait to see where everybody stands. So let's toss it over to this.
The Don of Ice and Fire himself right here. Can't wait to get some Game of Thrones content from him eventually. It's our own Agent Williams, Don Williams himself. Hey, man, what is going on?
Hey, what's going on? Hey, glad to be here. This is a little different for me. I let someone borrow my laptop, so I'm actually on my damn iPad. This is crazy right now, but glad to be here.
All right. Let's just get started on this. Okay, so Suicide Squad, the Suicide Squad. Let's be specific, because you have to be specific in the Twitterverse for this. It won't pop up. The little symbol won't pop up next to it unless you put the in front of this one. And I think it's important to differentiate from the 2016 movie. But once you start watching this, you can just about forget the 2016 movie. So let's talk the Suicide Squad. Now, I have a lot to say, but I am going to hand it over to the other guys first, because I tweeted already about it, that this thing rocked my fucking socks off. And there's so much about this I loved. It's not perfect. I've watched it twice now. There are things that I have a few issues with, but nothing that changes my opinion that this is in the top 3 DC movies of the past 20 years. You know, Batman 89, the original Superman, I think, are in a whole different category for me. But as far as everything, let's stay starting at Batman Begins. This is in the top 3 of films that I enjoy from this universe. So I'll say more about what I think about this after everybody else gets a chance. And let's start right to my right with Marc. What did you think of the Suicide Squad?
I was afraid you would start with me. So after hearing what you thought of it, I don't want to say what I thought. Okay, so it was okay. That's ultimately what I thought. It was fine. It's funny because I watched all these reviews and they said, oh, the 2016 Suicide Squad, that was shit. That was awful. This is amazing. This is like a billion times better. But I thought they were both kind of on par. And here's the thing with that. I liked the 2016 Suicide Squad better than most people say, oh, that movie sucked. It was horrible. It was awful. But I thought it was fine. And I watched this one and I think it's fine. It's maybe a little better. It's definitely more beautiful, and the cinematography is better. That's for sure. But it's a bit out there for me. It just went way too centrally overload and big, crazy villains and what and whatnot. But here's the main thing I want to just get out of the way with this is that I remember in 2016 everyone's bitching, complaining about Slipknot, and they're like, "Oh, Slipknot just appeared in." He died right away. What's the point of this character? Why did they kill him off? Why even have him? You kill him off immediately. And those same exact people are praising this movie. Oh, they had all these expendable characters that they killed off immediately. Isn't that great? Like, no, I don't get that. I don't understand the difference. I actually think it's worse than what they did with this movie because it wasn't just one character. It was a whole group of characters that seemed entirely pointless to me, especially having that dude, Yondu, who we're following at the start of the film. And then all of a sudden he just dies. It's like, well, it seemed really pointless to me. But I didn't hate it for that. As I said, I still liked the movie. I still enjoyed it, but it wasn't the bee's knees for me. That's just me. But anyway, I feel bad now. Let someone else talk.
No, man. I mean, you those are your opinions, and that's valid. I'll try. I'm actually got some things to say that might, help with that. But first, let's go to Darrin next and see what he thought initially of this film as well.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say with the Slipknot thing, right? Let me jump right in and say this. I think it's because everybody else got a big introduction. Slipknot get it. Oh, this is Slipknot. You're like, oh, okay. Well, they didn't even bother to spend time introducing him. Or at least this one, they got an adventure in 8 minutes or so before they all died. So I don't know. Is that a difference? Overall, I think that it did. I think it's hard to compare the two films simply because, especially if we hear about what David Ayer is saying of his particular cut of the film versus what came out theatrically, I don't know. That sort of changes. I personally would be curious what a David Ayer cut is, just because I'd want to see if that really made any difference in the storyline. But for this Suicide Squad, yeah, I think Gunn knocked it out of the park. I think it is ridiculous in the good sense. We talked a little bit before, Rob, you and I, about Justice League, Snyder's Justice League. And one of the things that he leads in a lot with is that epic sense. Everything is epic. He's standing up and it's epic, and they're looking down at the city and it's epic, and he trips and it's epic, and he picks himself up and it's some epic thing. And there's this big focus where everything is epic. And it's kind of like from was it the now it's leaving me, the Pixar animation with Syndrome, when he's trying to make everyone super. But to me, it's like, if everyone's super, no one is. And if everything is epic, then nothing is. And that was one of the issues I had with Justice League. Here, he kind of spits in that face. He does the big epic setups and the people jumping out of the airplane into the water, and it's all slow motion. They're following the cameras in, and everyone's all super cool. And then you have Weasel just flop in and drown. And it sets up those epic moments, and it spits in its face. And I think that's what DC needed. It needed a little bit of that air taken out. And yet, there's some great moments that are done in this. There's some real emotional moments that James Gunn holds. The discussion between Ratcatcher and 2 and Bloodsport, when they're in the van, it's a very emotional moment. And he held this. It didn't end with a joke from anybody else there. It didn't end up with an explosion and interruption, which you would get with some other directors. It was willing to hold and trust that emotion, and I enjoyed that. He also didn't cut the hell out of the fights. I was super thrilled with Harley Quinn's escape, because you get a long camera scene where she's beating people up and taking people down, and you just hold and you can see the action. And that's one thing, like in Birds of Prey, you could see they wanted to do that, but it was edited to crap. And it really changes the momentum. So I think Gunn brought a sense of levity and craftsmanship and gave DC an injection that it really needed. And I think theatrically, we'll get into some comparisons later, it sort of puts them ahead in the DC Marvel war this year, at least for the moment for me.
Excellent. Now, I'm really excited to hear what Don has to say about this. He's been having to wait, and now it's your turn, Don. What did your initial thoughts of this film for you?
So initially, like Suicide Squad. The Suicide Squad. It's a movie. Honestly speaking, like some of the things that that you guys did, like especially Darrin, like the scene between Bloodsport and Ratcatcher 2. To me, I thought that went on for too long. Honestly speaking, don't get me wrong. I love James Gunn movies. One of my favorites from him is actually damn it, damn it, why can I not remember the name now? It's the one that he did right before Guardians of the Galaxy.
Super.
Yes, love that movie. And honestly speaking, I wish this had more of that in there. Like I felt as though like he was trying to somehow balance the sensibilities of Super with the sensibilities of Guardians of the Galaxy. And for me, it was kind of, I wish if you're gonna do that, go all the way. Fuck it, go all the way. And even though, don't get me wrong, like I think they had some great action sequences in there. Like for example, when they're out there mowing down all of the resistance fighters when they're thinking that Flag has been captured, perfect. Because then when he gets to the end, it's like, yeah, how come my men didn't warn me about anybody? He's like, oh, we didn't see anybody, and love that whole sequence. But yeah, there were a few moments that I think just went on for too long. Like I said, Bloodsport and Ratcatcher 2. Bloodsport and his daughter. I think that went on maybe. I'm not talking about like, extensively long, but like, I think maybe they could have cut out like 30 seconds. 30 seconds out of there, maybe 45 seconds to a minute out of the convo with him and Ratcatcher. It was just stuff like that to me, it was like, yes, it was good. It helped to broaden the characters, but it was just like, okay, I get it. You could have condensed it just a little tighter, and I think it would have helped the pace a little bit. Because the things that dragged for me really dragged, but the other things that moved, it was like, oh yes, we're going with this. I can understand how people love the movie. I didn't hate the movie at all. And I just watched it last night. So, maybe I need to watch it again with some more fresh eyes because, honestly speaking, I think I've gotten like 5 hours sleep in the past 3 days. So I might need to watch it one more time. When I've gotten some actual sleep. But no, don't get me wrong. I like the movie a lot. I just personally, I wish that he would have leaned in more to, like, especially for Suicide Squad. I'm like, this to me should have been absolute balls to the wall. I was expecting something more in the vein of, if not Super, then Kick-Ass 1. That's what I was kind of expecting this to be. So like I said, yeah, I wish he would have just leaned in just a little harder into like the fuck it territory.
Yeah, I absolutely understand that way of thinking about it being a little more like Super. Because while it was going, I was like, man, how awesome would it be if Rainn Wilson just showed up in his outfit, like on the team, just sitting on the plane with his wrench. That would have been really, really cool. And yeah, this is a James Gunn film and a DC film at the same time. And I've been a James Gunn fan since before. Like, I love the movie Slither so much. If you haven't seen that movie, oh my God, that is saying fuck it. Like, that is so crazy. And Super is just like the greatest, like, one of the most realistic takes on what a superhero would really life would really look like if he had no powers. But going all the way back to like his days with Troma and how he always, sticks Lloyd Kaufman in cameos, and he sticks with his cast from all those days. You've got Nathan Fillion in here, you got Michael Rooker in here, you got Michaela Hoover in here, you got all the people that he works with all the time, and it's got those sensibilities, but then it's also a DC comic book movie, but it doesn't go quite as far as I wanted to either. There's moments in this that are just balls out James Gunn, and there are moments that are like, okay, it also has to still be a DC movie and it has to try to appeal to a mass audience and still be like, I think, they also were taking a little bit of notes from like what works in Deadpool and things like that. I think this is better than at least the sequel to Deadpool, which also got pretty crazy. But one of the thing about that opening sequence that I really like is they really pull a bait and switch on you in that we think that this is like the guys, that this is the team. And you get introduced to Michael Rooker and you see that he's a bad dude. Like, he's a bad guy. He kills that bird and you can just automatically know that what kind of guy is that. This bird can't even sit in his little area without facing his wrath. And the payback to that was perfect. So when they go out there and, well, first this movie had me when they shot Pete Davidson. Sorry. For anybody out there, for me, I now get to know what it would look like if somebody shot Pete Davidson in the face. But once they're blown, right, and you realize that Waller's always got a backup plan. Who also Viola Davis, mwah, she gets even more nasty in this. She's such perfect casting. So when they all just suddenly start dropping, it's also like to show the audience that, like, because Slipknot, I only know Slipknot was a band. I didn't even know about that character. And so when he just comes and goes, and really he's like the only character that dies in the movie, it felt like this was his way of saying, you think you're following the heroes of this villain movie, when really it's all just a big distraction for the real team. The people, like, it shows Waller's intent. It shows Waller's like how she'll put her own people in danger, like Rick Flag. He's her guy. And she really just threw him to the meat grinder. And just the way they reveal that, I thought made that beginning sequence of all those people dying, especially also getting to see how, like, ridiculous some of this stuff was, like seeing just Weasel die, seeing the Nathan Fillion be the detachable kid, and how stupid his powers are, and everybody being like realizing, and Flag's like, I didn't pick the team. It all just feels like, oh no, and I think the movie really needed that to show the people that, first off, they understand that this is the Suicide Squad. We understand that this is going to be they wanted to, like, make a statement that this is not that other movie. We're going to go all out. Our characters, nobody is safe in this movie except for the people that are safe, like Harley. You knew that Harley Quinn was making it out of this movie. You figured Idris Elba was going to make it out of this movie, but everybody else was fair game. And I really just dug that part of it. Go ahead, Mark.
I I'd like to address this because especially the comparison to Slipknot, because I want to say why I actually didn't mind the Slipknot thing, but this one and this film bothered me because Slipknot was never meant to be any more than a character who just died. Like they never introduced him. Oh, he's such a that he served his purpose. You knew that was his purpose. He served it. I didn't like the bait and switch. How like, oh, these are all these people. Look at how badass they are, and then they die immediately. Like I don't know. There's something about that seems like why did I waste my time with them then? I know it's trying to say, ooh, anyone can die at any time, but then for the rest of the movie, most of the main characters don't die. They're fine until we get to the very end. So it's felt like a waste of time to me, to be perfectly honest. And you made the comparison to Deadpool 2. It reminded me a bit, which I love Deadpool 2. I think it was way better than this movie, me personally. But anyway, it reminded me of the bit with the X-Force or whatever, and they all fly out the plane, they die immediately. Like, to me, that was comedy gold. That was done correctly. Where this, I don't know. Like the Weasel stuff, I will give you. Every time the Weasel appeared on screen and when he died immediately and they had the post-credit screen when him come back to life, I will get you. I love that stuff. It was great. But for the rest of it, and the fact that Harley Quinn had the plot armor, that I don't know, it kind of took me out of the movie. It was like a contrivance. Like she's the star. She's going to survive. Rick Flag is also, a star, so he's going to survive at least till the end. But yeah, so I don't know. That part of the movie actually bothered me. But there's other parts of the movies I did like a lot, which I'm sure we'll talk to later. But that part, I don't know. I just wasn't for it.
Yeah, actually, I got a question for something that you had brought up there. And obviously, I don't think we said it beforehand, spoilers, and I've already spoiled things.
Yeah.
So obviously, there's going to be more spoilers. I'm wondering, was Flag Waller's guy, though? Because he did kind of turn at the end, and if he was assigned even unknowingly to basically the sacrifice squad, because you had to assume that Waller knew that Pete Davidson was turning them in, that's why they were the distraction team. I was wondering if she was setting him up to die from the beginning. I know that she sent the team to go get him, but maybe it was she knows maybe he's in the hands of the rebels and he could turn and learn something, and he is a guy on the edge. I know we're digging kind of deep into motivations, but I kind of wonder, because it felt like that until Flag's shift at the end, where it was kind of like, well, screw all this, man. America stabbed me in the back too many times. It's like, whoa, that seemed like a really sudden shift to me. So I don't know. These are questions that the movie has brought up. I don't necessarily have any answers to that, but
I absolutely agree. That's why I was kind of like, she always has a plan B. Peacemaker was that plan B. Was she setting him up from the beginning? And what I like about it is that we don't really know, because she plays things so close to the vest. I mean, she shares some looks and things like that, and it's not till the end that she just goes off. Where we find out her real intentions, and it starts to make like, I know part of this movie was kind of like, I felt like was, who are the real villains here? Everybody, are they all just bad? Like if Waller's bad and covering things up, you got Peacemaker, who's her guy, like new guy now almost. Like I think they had some of that. One of my problems that I had with it was that these are all villains, and they didn't, I felt like they were trying to make that too many of them heroes. Like Peacemaker's just bad news.
Yeah.
And John Cena, it was brilliant. But I felt like they were just trying to make, they had certain things about them, like Harley Quinn was actually crazy in this. She actually fits the character for once, and is not just, I'm just a little mixed up, and sometimes I'm crazy and sometimes I'm not. But she was nuts. And I guess that's what I want to get to next, is the characters, because I thought that this was the first time they actually used her most of the way correctly. Waller was perfect, is just way better in this than she was in the first one. She was really good. She was kind of understated in the first one, and I like that too. In fact, she's my favorite part of the first Suicide Squad. I still say, whatever you say about that movie, some of the performances in that were pretty good. It made Jai Courtney tolerable. It made You know what I mean? Like some of those performances were pretty good. Rodriguez, I think that's his name, the guy who was Diablo. He was pretty good in it too. So, and Rick Flag was better in this. He was also beefed up. He didn't look as emaciated as he did in the first movie. I enjoyed some of the side characters that were in it, like the cameos, like Nathan Fillion and them. I wish that they were in it more, and I do understand like feeling like a little bit of a waste of time because some of those characters I really wanted to see more of, and I really wanted to see more of Michael Rooker. All these things. But the characters, like oh god, when Peter Capaldi finally shows up and when he starts swearing, and I'm like, Malcolm Tucker is in the house. Like I loved all the casting in this, and especially like guys like Polka Dot Man, who, you know, that guy's just been kind of a character actor, a side character in movies like Ant-Man and little bit parts in The Dark Knight. I thought he was a major standout in this movie. Ratcatcher, the heart of this movie, and Sylvester Stallone's The Groot. And I really thought that this cast of characters and the actors that they got to play them was, and I forgot Idris Elba, who, God, make that man James Bond already, please, before he gets too old. I just thought that as much as I thought that the cast was one of the best parts of 2016, I think they did a little bit better job in this. But I think one of James Gunn's best things about him is he's learned over the years is to work with a good ensemble cast and pick the right, help pick the right people for these parts. And I just want to bring it up to you guys. Who was your favorite characters? Who did you think was strongest? Who was weak? And we'll start with Don. What did you think of all the cast, and who are the strongest, weakest, whatever you want to put in here?
So let's see. Strongest. Strongest, and I know the young lady who I actually watched the movie with. If she ever sees this, she's gonna be like, "How dare you?" I'm gonna go with John Cena. For someone who is not, I guess, a classically trained actor, I think that he, and also not really the biggest comedic actor, I think that he leaned into the ridiculousness of his character very well. The whole thing about like the one line of like, yo, this whole beachhead was filled with filled with dicks, and I had to suck them in order for liberty. I would do it. I was just like, what? Absolutely, because his delivery was so straight faced on it. I'm like, I wonder how many takes they had to do in order to get that delivery out. Because I don't think I ever would have been able to make it like through through that line without just busting the gut the entire time. So yeah, he stood out to me just because of the fact that he's not really known as an actor. He's not really the biggest thespian, out there. So the fact that the fact that I didn't automatically think, oh, it's fucking John Cena, that to me was actually stand out. As far as weakest, honestly speaking, I have a tough time, thinking about who was like weakest. I mean, you know what? I think I already know who you would go with, good sir. And I probably, you know what? I'm gonna say I'll go with the same one too, as you're probably gonna say, Pete Davidson. Um, because honestly speaking, I don't even remember what character he was supposed to be playing. I just saw Pete Davidson. It was just kind of like, okay, Pete Davidson. Oh shit, he died. Ooh, all right. So I don't have to tolerate him for 2 hours. Yeah. So don't get me wrong. Even him, really just being him, it didn't drag down the movie though. I don't think that anyone did a horrible job. But if I was going with, who impressed me versus who didn't, John Cena impressed me because I didn't automatically think, oh, just because you can't see me, guy. So that was a good thing. And like I said, Pete Davidson, it was just like, yeah, I automatically just saw Pete Davidson, but I'm like, all right, well, whatever. I don't have to tolerate him for too long, so it's fine. Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, brilliant, brilliant. They gave her some very good scenes to work with, so I thought that was good. Idris Elba, look, cool. He's Idris Elba. I mean, there isn't much more to say to that. He's always going to bring his A game for whatever it is he's doing. I think he definitely sold the character. They put him in some ridiculous situations that even me, I was like, oh wow, are they about to kill him? Um, you know, and even him making it out I was like, all right, well, they did that because probably hoping they can franchise this again and possibly have him at least for 2 more movies maybe. Uh, so let's see here. Oh, Sylvester Stallone is King Shark. Because even though it is Sylvester Stallone's voice, like you totally forget about it. Same way like with Vin Diesel with Groot, like you don't really think about it as, oh, it's Vin Diesel. So I mean, like I think they did a great job with him, in terms of that immersion where I wasn't automatically thinking, oh, hey, it's Rambo. you know, so yeah, man, and yes, while I remember all the other characters, I don't want to be here rambling, so I will turn it over to whoever you would like to speak to next, good sir.
We're just gonna go backwards, so it's D's turn next. What did you think of the characters in this movie?
Yeah, I kind of have to go with Don in the sense of a bad character is hard to find. I mean, Pete Davidson's an easy target right there with that. Best one, I think I have to go with Bill Casey in the chat here, and that'd be Milton. Poor Milton. He just got there. He was just driving the bus, man. The heck? And well, I mean, that's one of the things is as
Milton's not a real name. There's no one named Milton.
No, it's a very not a common name. No,
Milton.
I mean, even
Milton.
The side characters are awesome in this. But yeah, we've got to give it up for Daniela Melchior, Ratcatcher 2. This is her English language debut, and she's got just one of those faces. I'm like, I could have swear that I've seen her in something. Maybe it's just she lives that so perfectly in that particular role and brings it. It was like there was just a space that was missing that she went and filled. She was awesome. You always got to have the emotional kind of like heart of the team, and she lived that great. She was awesome. You've got your John Cena line about dicks on the beach, and she's walking up behind like, why would people put penises all over the beach? I mean, it was just a wonderful character. I love that, and she's someone I would really love to see more of. Yeah, Idris Elba, watch him in anything. Yes, would love him as James Bond. Broccoli's won't let that happen, but still, it should happen. You're right. Viola Davis as Amanda Waller really was able to live it. And the small things, like when the guys asked, it's like, the daughter, you wouldn't really do that, would you? And she's like, you wouldn't know half the things I do. And you're like, okay, this is a bad person. And you realize it's a villain leading the team of villains. It's just the villain working on this side, on our side, or U.S. government side. So, I mean, it's kind of a perfect matchup there. Yeah, King Shark was awesome. Polka Dot Man, another fun, just little side character I didn't know anything about. I didn't know how far this would go, and it was just, again, I think that quiet torturedness, like I am the crazy one. You know, I mean, just those small little things was just perfect. So, yeah, Gunn's really good at establishing cast, and I think really built a nice one here. And yeah, John Cena is another one of those. He knows exactly how to play that role. I think he understands comic timing perfectly, and I think this is really the playground, especially the fact that they made this rated R and went with that. I know that's kind of away from the characters, but I think that was an awesome choice, and it allows them to do something that Marvel cannot do at the moment. I think that's a good area for them to play in. Yeah. And as for like wasted teams, I got to say, I was bummed that Jai Courtney got taken out at the beginning. And I did, how would that, I never would expect those words to come out of my mouth. But yeah, I loved him as Boomerang, and the fact that he died and definitively died, kind of bummed me out. And yeah, I think this is the best use of Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. I did not like Birds of Prey at all. I thought that was a horrible film. I think this was perfect. You're right. She had the balance of crazy. The fact that she just shot the guy in the chest. It's like, yeah, sorry, I made a promise to myself that if I saw any red flags, I'd do the right thing and murder them. You know, again, that's the crazy person response. And it was just perfect. And I think that's the one thing I did like about the opening sequence, even though it was like you sort of wasted a team, it did make the statement that lived throughout the rest of the movie is don't get attached. Because anybody could go at any time. You think this is the villain? Nah, we'll just take him out halfway through and we'll throw somebody else in the role. You know, it did keep things up in the air for me. But yeah, I think those were the big ones. Yeah, you know, Peter Capaldi was great, but I think it was also a super tiny role. You know, there wasn't much to it there outside of him just having fun. So... yeah, and of course, I mean Starro. Really, I think probably the underplayed hero of this, the kaiju that we all knew. Anyway, that was my opinion.
Yeah, before we get to Mark, when they said it's the star experiments, I got so happy because I was like, oh, they're going for Starro and not a beam shooting into the sky. We're gonna actually have villains to fight on the ground, not flying around in the sky, not shooting lights, not, like you can say, we love WandaVision, but it had the same kind of things that a lot of Marvel movies do. And this didn't do that. We actually had something tangible to fight that we weren't trying to close an opening or like stop a bomb from going off. Like the bombs going off were supposed to go off. And I love that. So Mark, go ahead and throw in your 2 cents about what you thought of the cast.
I don't think there were any. I don't know if I would pinpoint any standouts or like high points or low points. Definitely not low points. I think I agree with that. I would say that what I really liked about this movie and what I think was the best thing about it was the portrayal of the characters and their camaraderie, the chemistry they had. The humor was absolutely perfect. And this is the one thing that I would say puts it above the 2016 Suicide Squad movie for me, is that you didn't really buy. There was some great acting, like Will Smith and Margot Robbie did a great job, and the other actors, and there were some great character moments, but you didn't buy the camaraderie. You didn't buy the chemistry between the characters. When Diablo died and they were all like feeling sad, it felt fake. It felt like, well, why do you really care about him? Whereas in this film, you felt like the connection between Idris Elba and Ratcatcher 2. Like, I totally bought that. Like, that worked. You felt the chemistry. You felt the sort of rivalry between John Cena and Idris Elba. Like they played that all for. So it's the character interactions that I think that elevated. It was the plot that I had issues with, but the actual character development and the character interactions and the jokes, like the jokes. One of my favorite moments in the film was ruined by the trailers. Is when they have that villain with the shit in his head. Can't remember his name. And they were saying, if you do this, you die. And if you do this, you die. And then freaking Harley Quinn comes along like, if you cough without covering your mouth, you die. And like, no, you don't do that. And it's perfect because it's within, it shows the kind of crazy, insane character she is. And the while demonstrating the chemistry between the characters and having such great humor. So that's the part I absolutely love. I think the one part, and please don't hate me, Rob, the one part I would kind of say was kind of a low point, but wasn't that big of a deal, was I wasn't that big on Amanda Waller in this film. I think Viola Davis is an amazing performance, amazing actress, but I didn't like how she was written. I think she was a bit too mustache twirly, over the top for me. I actually thought she was a bit more subtle in the first film, which I kind of preferred. But again, this is a very, very, very minor thing. It's almost not even worth mentioning. But yeah, the scenes with her and those people in the control room were always my least favorite scenes. I always liked it when they cut back to the Suicide Squad because I just liked their chemistry. Oh, and I gotta mention the fact that they got Taika Waititi to play Ratcatcher. That I was a huge fan of that. Like that was amazing when they brought that in. And I liked like the character journey. Like every character, like most of the main characters had their own journey. Like even the shark, whatever it is, he had like a character journey. Ratcatcher 2, like she had her character journey of like, being the savior, and she was like the heart of the film, as a lot of people say. And I like even Polka Dot Man. The Polka Dot Man had his character journey because he was like, yes, I'm a superhero, and then he died. But that's what he always wanted to be. So that was actually perfect for me. So yeah, I think the characters and their interactions and how they're portrayed was definitely the high point of this film, the strength of it.
Well, yeah, and you had mentioned something about the kind of appropriate ending. That is the one thing that I liked about this, is they weren't saving the world. They were saving a city or a small island nation you could go to an extent of. But that was it. And they were even to the point where they could just be done and walk away and just sort of leave it be. And that was how the powers that be kind of wanted it. So, I mean, in some ways, I like the fact, I hate the fact that everybody has to save the world. No, just save the city. Be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, as they say. You can just do that, and that can be a good enough. That's a good start. Then you can build. Once you save the world, where do you go from there?
See, I was told once in a writing class by someone who was a script writer that the stakes are only as high in the movie as they are for the characters. You don't have to put the whole world at risk. The stakes are what the characters are for them, and this is a really good example of that.
Yeah, exactly. About it's the end of the world for the characters. You know what I mean? It's potentially their heads are going to explode if they don't, you know what I mean? Like for them, it's the end of the world, not the rest of the world. And I also want to point out Desiree, everybody in the chat, Bill, Devra, Paul, Desiree, though, bringing up Sebastian the Rat, who is also was really, really, really great in this film. Just such a cute little, just everything about it. And it also adds to Idris Elba's character when we find out about his phobia, how he didn't want to reveal his flaws, his things that could be, used against him, and how that just somehow works. The evolving relationship between his character and the rat by the end of the movie. And why, in most things that would just be like, who gives a shit? And it's one of the sweetest, that ends the movie. Is him with the rat, and it's just that's time. So sweet.
That was the nice thing. They take time. It's not just Andy lifts and does it. You see the long struggle as he does it, and then kind of accepts it. I mean, really kind of take a moment. And I know, Don, that might be one of those things that could have been 15 seconds shorter for you. And I agree, some of the pacing in this does have issues here and there. Some things did go a little bit long. But that's one of those moments where I think holding there and letting us finish that journey, walk over that finishing line is good to hold on.
Yeah. So for me, I really thought about this because it is hard, like Don said, to think of any weak characters, and I kind of didn't count. I wasn't kind of counting the original ones that died. The Pete Davidson thing was just, as soon as I realized he was in the movie, I was like, oh, please don't make him last the entirety of this movie. I mean, I loved everybody that they used in the beginning of that movie, with whether it was Nathan Fillion, whether it was Michael Rooker, whether it was Sean Gunn as Weasel, whether it was the Fluga Borg who played Javelin, who we didn't talk about at all. Like, that guy was hilarious. Just actually, his character was funny because of her reaction to his death, and how that all plays out for the rest of the movie about the Javelin. I don't think there's a weak character in this movie as far as the main cast goes. And as much as I loved John Cena in this, and I am not a big John Cena fan, I recognize game, though, and he had game in this, man. He came to play in this movie. He put it all out there as Peacemaker, because, like, that guy, he is major league batshit crazy. And we've only seen the first extent of this. Now, one of the reasons the scenes with Waller and her team are important, and anybody who doesn't know this already, what happens between her and her team is going to be really important, because they've already filmed this, by the way. The Peacemaker series that's going to be coming in January. It's 5 episodes. James Gunn wrote and directed this, and it's going to be the continuation from the end of this movie, when he's still alive and her team now has to be with him. So what she knew that they did to her, now she is putting them with this guy that they hate, right? They did to her because they recognize the badness in her, and now they're going to be forced to work with him. So that's an important part, like what happened with that. And it might, it does kind of feel like, and I can agree that some of those scenes, especially in the beginning when they're like putting bets out and things like that, it was just kind of like, what are they doing with these people? It felt like a lot of other movies that have control room people that are just like Jake Johnson and the other girl in like Jurassic World. I'm like, what is this? Why are we, you know what I mean? Like, so it does seem kind of pointless, but like, it's a long game in this situation for those parts. But as far as the cast goes, as much as, like I said, that I love John Cena in this, my favorite character is David Malchian as the Polka Dot Man, because I just thought that he was the quiet, tortured one who, as you find out little by little, and I think I'm just drawn to really damaged characters like that, where you find out that this was done to him by his mother, who was obsessed with making superheroes, that there's other members of his family out there that lived. We haven't seen them yet. His powers are dope. I mean, for a guy who shoots polka dots and what they do to you when they hit things, and the fact that they're like these interdimensional polka dots, it's such a ridiculous concept, but the way that the guy plays it, the psychology of the whole thing, he's the only one who cared about Milton, and just the way that he gets that full arc of being a superhero before he dies, seeing his mother everywhere. I loved how they established that for the character, and then how that is used to help him fight the day when Idris Elba needs them to be a team. He uses all that information and helps him reach his potential. And it just really, I dug that character so much, and it sucks that he's gone, but he was my standout. And Taika showing up, we were watching this as a watch party when it came out, and everybody was like, is that Taika? Is that Taika? And when it was, when you saw near the end, like, that it really was, it's so great. It's just such another little perfect nugget. The guy doesn't have to do this. He's trying to make Thor Love and Thunder. and he shows up just to do this thing, and yeah, now everybody wants a Ratcatcher movie with Taika Waititi in it, and Calendar Man was in this movie, by the way, everybody. I think Sean Gunn played Weasel and Calendar Man. Calendar Man was the guy.
That's who he was.
Yeah, Calendar Man was the guy who told who was making fun of Polka Dot Man.
Yeah, he wants him to go to his kid's birthday. I recognize because I saw the tattoo, but to me, Calendar Man's always a larger guy. So I guess that's why I didn't make the connection. All right. That's cool. See, those are fun moments.
Yeah, like I'm sorry, but I was really looking at everything in this movie because I'm such a big James Gunn fan. Like I said, there's a Lloyd Kaufman "Blink and You'll Miss It" cameo. If you don't know who Lloyd Kaufman is, he's the guy who created Trauma. He's the head of Trauma Pictures from like the Toxic Avenger and all that stuff. And him and James Gunn go way back. But yeah, I can't think of a weak link in this of the main characters. I mean, I think the villains were kind of, I guess, because Capaldi didn't have much to do. I felt like he was kind of there for exposition, but it was fun just watching him. I just dig him so much. I'll watch him in anything like Idris Elba. So I guess maybe Capaldi only because he was just kind of there to give exposition and look weird. And I hate saying that. But if I had to pick, that would probably be who the weakest one is. So overall, I think before we switch topics, does anybody have any final thoughts on this? Because like we've also got the soundtrack that I thought was way better utilized in this one. Other than if we're going to compare the 2016 one to this one, where it was just a song, and they never got to enjoy the moment that those songs were in there. They were just, it was like weird edits every single time. It just kept jumping to a song. And in this, you actually got to hear a good portion of the song and why they were in there. Like Louis Prima to Harley's Massacre was just amazing. How they set that up with her singing it as she's being electroshocked. And then when she breaks out, it's just full blown Louis Prima, not just in her head. I thought that the way that they utilized the soundtrack in this was so much better than the first one. And that's in editing for the first one. I blame that mostly on like those kind of choices. But again, another really good eclectic soundtrack. Half the songs I didn't even recognize, but I really enjoyed it. Did you guys like the soundtrack at all?
Well, I think Gunn's always been good with choosing music. Definitely in Guardians, they were very integral. They're used a little differently here, but I think his choices always make a lot more sense than they're never just added songs or this is a current hit or isn't this a cool rendition of each of them. I mean, even the opening bit where it's the Suicide Squad and it's like, these are the people who died. I don't know the name of the song. But that's kind of a perfect use of that song, of showing the ridiculousness of it, and this is the tone of this movie. So, yeah, I think Gunn's always been really good with soundtracks, and he certainly continued here.
Are you ready?
You actually called the title of that song out right away. It's these are the people who died. That's the name of the song. And it's by Jim Carroll, the poet, Jim Carroll. Who died not too long ago. The guy that the Basketball Diaries is based on.
Okay.
Yeah. So everybody, Marc, what did you think of the soundtrack?
Well, are you ready for me to be a negative Nancy again?
Do it.
It was okay. I think it worked at parts, but to me, when I kept thinking he's just trying to be like Guardians of the Galaxy. He's trying to do the Guardians of the Galaxy thing with all these 70s songs. But other than that, it was fine.
Okay, Don, what did you think of the soundtrack? And it's valid, Marc. It's valid to think that it's not. It is like he had a formula, and he's following it. And I guess I just happen to like it. So Don.
Honestly speaking, I mean, like I said, because I watched it with not that much sleep. I really don't remember that much of the soundtrack. I mean, obviously, I guess it was inoffensive. um, yeah, but I wasn't blown away. I didn't really get a Guardians of the Galaxy kind of sense with this movie overall. So like because the soundtrack is so integral to to Star Wars kind of journey, I think I paid attention more to the music in Guardians than in this one because it's like yes, the songs are there, and from what I could remember, they did very much relate to the scenery around it, but it wasn't as integral to the story in terms of like if you took this stuff away, it like it takes away from the actual characters, whereas the songs in Guardians, you take those songs away, Star Lord is not even the same guy, so yeah, I have to watch it again. I'm gonna probably watch tomorrow. Um, but yeah, I mean, I didn't really have an opinion on the music choices one way or the other. Like I said, I didn't get a whole he's trying to do another Guardians of the Galaxy kind of thing with it though.
Okay, so now I might have the weird opinion here, and it's not a huge thing. It's not. Well, I mean, maybe it is, but I don't think it is. And one of the things I was thinking about was as much as I loved the WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, and I really loved the world building, and I just loved a lot of the things that they did that were unique. I love the weirdness of how they filmed and how they did everything in WandaVision. I thought I loved how cinematic Loki was. I loved all the information and, like I said, the world building. But one thing that this movie for me had more than those while I was watching it was I was more actively engaged with this movie and into it like I was in the theater than I was with any of those other shows. And I don't know how to explain it, but it felt like when I was watching any other like big Marvel movie like Endgame and stuff, where I was really into it. I was like actively emotional and laughing. And usually I reserve that for the theater, feeling. And this was the first time I felt like I really should have seen this in the theater. Because I was like in a one person theater in my house where I really was enjoying it as a film, like more than the shows. I don't know if that makes sense to anybody, but I mean, I watch a lot of stuff here at my house and I don't get too engaged with it. I'm taking notes. I'm enjoying it just fine, but this really just got me. I was just so, and maybe it's because again, I am like predisposed in my own way to like the James Gunn stuff, but I really was just really locked into this movie. And I'm going to see it at the theater just to get that experience again. I want to see the big scope of it. And I didn't get that from those other things. And that's not a knock on those. I just realized the difference though, that like I actually thought I was in the theater, like getting a theater experience with this movie. And I haven't felt that all year.
It makes sense to me. I mean, honestly, my wife, who I usually watch most of these things with and bounce off, she gets all my great ideas, and then I just steal them and say them they're my own when I'm on the show here. So that's my little secret. But no, I've always appreciated how she sees things. She's always one that kind of bounce ideas back and forth off of. And she hasn't really enjoyed the Marvel shows. She loved the hell out of this one. I mean, I was like partway through it and she walked in the room and I'm like, I'll restart it, sit down and watch. And she really had a good time. So there is something that it does in drawing. Now, it could be the fact that it's only 2 hours and has to be a tighter storyline, and thus the pacing is a little more there. versus a show, tends to focus on a lot more of that long character development. Um, I mean, again, I don't really know what it is, but I would have to say that you wouldn't be alone in seeing that there is something that this movie definitely brought in its tightness. I think that was a little bit more appealing. That was a little bit more of a grab than some of the longer shows that we've had.
Anybody else have an opinion on that?
Well, I mean, I think that's great. I mean, I'm glad you had that experience. I don't want to take that away from you or try to, but it wasn't my experience personally. I guess I didn't have sort of the connection. I'm kind of not a fan of DC. I guess I'll put it that way. But I'm not as big of a fan as James Gunn as you guys are. So I just yeah. I will say I like this better than Falcon and Winter Soldier for sure. But the other two shows, I kind of had that experience with those shows that you had with this film where I was locked in. But that's just me.
Yeah, Mark, that's exactly
good.
I was going to say, Mark, that's exactly the comparison that she said. She was like, how much I love Bucky, and this was so much better than that Winter Soldier thing. She goes, I didn't care. I didn't even want to watch any more of that, and I loved every moment of this. So,
yeah, I had a lot of issues with the fucking Winter Soldier, but that's another topic.
Yeah, and the thing is, as I agree with you, Mark, I'm not that big a DC fan. If it's not the family, the Bat family stuff, most of the time I'm checked out. I just love the idea of the Suicide Squad a lot. And I've been toying with the idea of getting into the comics a little bit, seeing what's there that I'm missing, if anything. But this surprised me, and I think it had a lot to do with Gunn.
Like the one thing I would say about this that I had the same issue with this film as I did with the earlier one is that because the comic book, I presume, I've never read it, but I presume that they take villains that appeared in other comic books and put them in a group and call them the Suicide Squad, and I think it actually would have benefited from these villains appearing in other films first before they jumped, which is to me has always been the problem with DC. They always try to jump straight into let's do cinematic universe without doing the proper build up that Marvel did. And so that's the one thing I will say. If we got like Saul Bloodsport as a villain in a different movie, and now he appeared here, that would have enriched this movie even more. But that doesn't really take anything away from the film. It was still a good film.
Okay, Don, do you have anything?
Yeah, you know what? Like now that Mark brings it up about like it probably would have been better to have the villains appear in other movies first to kind of build things up. Yeah, I mean because again, like he said, these characters are characters who in the comic books have been like long-standing villains. Appeared in Batman, Justice League, Green Lantern, whoever, uh, and then you get them in Suicide Squad, and it's kind of like, huh, okay. And so when it, so the when there's a character that winds up dying, it's a much bigger impact because if you have been reading like the Flash for years, and then you see Boomerang show up in the Suicide Squad, and then Captain Boomerang dies, it's like, wait, so does this mean he doesn't get to fight the Flash ever again? So yeah, Mark, brilliant take on that, and yeah, I just think that there are a number of things that DC could have done to help these movies have a greater impact over the long term. Um, Unfortunately, they have squandered those opportunities. Hoping that they could fast track their way to $1 billion box office things. And I think the only thing that's reached that so far was Joker. And let's be honest, that wasn't even really a Joker movie. It was a taxi cab. It was taxi cab driver with Joker paint slapped over, or Gotham paint slapped over it, So, I mean, yeah. Again, I enjoyed the movie. I think there are definite improvements that could have been made. I hope that they didn't really tie James Gunn's hands with this and say, hey, you're allowed to go this far and no further. Because I don't know, that's just kind of the feeling I got from it. But hopefully James Gunn will get to be his most James Gunn at a later date, and we'll get some of the kookiness that that I was expecting for this movie to have. But I'm going to give it another watch, and who knows, maybe I'll have to come in the comments section and be like, oh man, I'm so fucking wrong. Shit was amazing.
Get some sleep, Don.
Yeah, and the only thing that I feel about like Gunn's like schedule is I just want another original James Gunn movie, but it don't look like the poor guy's gonna have a chance to do anything original while he's working on Guardians 3 and the Christmas special and probably Suicide Squad 2, and it's like
Christmas special.
There's the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special.
What?
Yeah.
I've heard of that though.
I think they're trying to do like the Star Wars holiday special, except with Guardians of the Galaxy.
If they make fun of it, it's like they parry the Star Wars, then that would be good.
I hope they do. I hope that's where they're going with it mostly. So it's like I know Christopher Nolan.
I was going to say, Groot's dad is going to have a 20-minute virtual stick dance in front of him.
That's great. That's great. But like I know Christopher Nolan, like when he was doing the Dark Knight, the trilogy, he was able to make like Inception, but in between like Returns and that. But I don't know if he's gonna get that kind of schedule where he can do something on his own, or if he's just one of those guys who will do it and like fit something in no matter what. But as long as he keeps doing, keeping this level of quality up, and I'm excited for what's coming next. And I do hope that, because it does feel like he had his hands mostly free for this movie, but I do see that, I do agree, Don, there was probably lines that they were like, yeah, you can only go this far and this much, because it does feel like it should have gone full crazy, like full on. I know exactly what you're talking about. This could have been just absolutely bananas. And I think that even though it's R and it's a hard R, I think there's a James Gunn film out there that he probably had in his mind that's even further than what we saw, And so and that's fine, because you know what? We got a good movie out of it. I'm not going to be like David Ayer and go, oh, Zack Snyder got his cut, why can't I get mine? I'm sorry, man, but sometimes studio interference happens all the time, man. Look at, even all the way back to like Cleopatra. Okay, you made a movie, you got to have an extended cut, lick your wounds, make another good movie, and stop worrying about the Suicide Squad of maybe. Right now we have a new one. Make another movie, David Ayer, and stop crying about it. So, sorry. So anyway,
big baby, David Ayer, big baby.
It might be interesting to know, but I mean, there was a standard cut, there was an extended cut. They had different people, but I don't want to go any further on that, because we need to switch gears, and I want to hear from, this is going to be mostly for Don and Marc, and me and Dee will probably chime in about it, but you guys didn't get to talk on Dee's channel about the finale of Loki. You both were on Dee's channel to talk Loki, but you didn't get to talk about the finale and how you felt about it overall. And so this is our opportunity here to hear your guys' thoughts, because like I said to you before the episode started tonight, Marc, I didn't watch your review because I wanted to be fresh. I wanted to hear all your ideas like firsthand and not like rehashed later. And Don, I have no idea what you're going to say about it. So I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say about Loki. So we're switching over to Loki, everybody. And let's start with Marc about your thoughts on Loki as overall and the finale and all that stuff.
Well, I mean, if you watch my review, you'll probably get a more clearer, better thought of my thoughts on the show, because it's actually been like a couple weeks since I've seen it, and I kind of moved on, so I kind of forgot what, what I thought of it. I had a more clear vision when I made my review. But anyway, I love the show. I thought it was amazing. I love the whole style of it, the cheekiness of it, the camaraderie, the character. I like. God, now see, it's been so long I can't even remember that character's name. Sylvie. I like her. I know some people complained about her. Some people complained about the Loki romance with her, but I hated it at first until the Owen Wilson's character said the line, "Oh, that's so narcissistic of you." And then once he said that, I was like, "Oh, that makes perfect sense. He is a narcissist. Of course, he would fall in love with himself." And so once they cleared that up, I was like, "Oh, this makes total sense," and I was okay with that too. And yeah, and I think for me though, like I love the first 4 episodes. The 5th episode when they were trapped in the, forever, where that's kind of, I wasn't really into that. Like that felt kind of an aside to me. And then the finale, they did the architect scene from the Matrix, basically. The architect scene from the Matrix, like the entire episode is basically exposition dump. Now, let me clarify. I actually like the architect scene from the Matrix Reloaded. I will defend that. Most people hate it. But so I didn't mind that the final episode was a total just exposition dump of them sitting there talking. And when they had that fight between Sylvie and Loki over who gets the kill, if they kill the guy, like that was good. That was intense stuff. But yeah, the finale wasn't as powerful as I hoped it would be. I guess my expectations were too high, so it didn't. And they left it too open-ended, and I gotta wait for whenever the fuck they're gonna do season 2. I don't want to wait that long. But of course, we're going to get more tie-ins to this and the Doctor Strange movie, which, I fucking want to see that movie so badly. And the Ant-Man movie, of course, because Kang the Conqueror apparently is going to be in that too. So we're going to have all this stuff. So I'm excited, but I hate the nature of Marvel, how they end stuff with like, haha, wait till your next stuff. I'm like, oh, god damn you, I want it now. But that is very comic booky. I will give them that. So it's in character form. But yeah, so overall, I said in my review, I gave it a 9 out of 10. So that's what I stick at. It's not a 10 for me because it did meander a bit towards the end there. But I overall loved it. Loved the shit out of it. Anyway.
All right, Don. All right, what were your impressions? Because you were like there for like episodes 2, 3, and 4, right?
Yes.
So you weren't there for the last couple.
Yeah, I wasn't.
He was in Vegas.
Yes. So, I fibbed when I said that I knew what was going to happen. I did know until about 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 seconds ago. Listen, honestly speaking, I love the finale. For one, definitely was not expecting for Jonathan Majors to show up. Like we had got the whole news about him being cast as Kang the Conqueror before. And even though, yes, Kang the Conqueror, you got Ravonna Renslayer. And as soon as you see Ravonna Renslayer, you should automatically know Kang the Conqueror is a definite, right? And I'm just like, but no, they're not going to introduce him here. They got to wait until Ant-Man. He's the next big villain. He's the new equivalent of Thanos, right? They're not gonna have him show up here. And then he does, and I'm like, whoa, whoa. If they're willing to do this, imagine what the possibilities could be. Because think about it, right? WandaVision, everybody's like, oh, Reed Richards is going to show up, and this one's going to show up, and that one's going to show up. No one showed up, right? You know, the whole thing with the aerospace engineer turned out to be a bunch of big nothing. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, oh, they threw a Madripoor. This means that, they got to show Wolverine or somebody or whoever, and no one shows up. So now it's just kind of like, look, I'm not trying to get my damn hopes up, all right? There isn't going to be a fucking Luke Skywalker level moment out here, you know. No, all right? So when Miss Minutes pops up with the, hey, y'all, you know, and, oh, no, He Who Remains. I'm like, okay, who are they going to have is He Who Remains. You know, He Who Remains usually some ancient, and like it's hard to tell the way they draw him in the comic books. Either he's Asian or possibly white, or I'm not sure. But then the doors open and out pops Jonathan Majors, and I'm just like, I wasn't prepared for this. I wasn't prepared for this at all. And I've heard people say that some people felt that he was hamming it up. But think about it, right? If if this guy he said I've lived a million lifetimes. Come on, think about it. At the TVA, anytime that someone has said something, they print out a new page. It's like, yeah, I have your entire life story sitting right here. So think about, if he's saying I had to tame Goliath in order to uh, stop all the other countless amounts of variants of myself from having this multiversal war, and then I created this whole entire organization basically to stop other timelines from existing to get to this point right here, right now. Of course, he's going to be crazy. He's going to be insane. He's had to. He's murdered countless. I can't, like, you couldn't even fathom the amount of zeros that would go into the number of people that he is either eliminated or stopped from existing altogether, like from even coming into existence. And he's, when he says to Loki and Sylvie eons ago, a variant of myself lived in the 31st century on Earth, eons ago. We're at the end of time. We have no idea what year in Earth years the end of time would even be. So this guy has been sitting here this entire time, overlooking time and trying to figure out, how do I get the best version of events to play out the way that I want them to play out. Yet he'd have to be crazy. There's no way that you're gonna sit there and have a conversation with someone who's gonna have all their mental faculties in order after they have done this kind of job. Because for him, it was a job. He's done this for we don't even know how many years. And apparently, he's lived through cycles of doing this. Because like when he talks about, yeah, well, how do you know? Like, how do you think I have all of the movements, loaded up into the temp pad for when you try to kill me? So Sylvie, as much as people were like, oh man, well, yeah, she, got her revenge, cool. That should have told her something right there. If he's saying, yeah, how do you think that I already have all of these movements and everything set up? And he's died and come back before. This has all happened before. You're not doing anything new. He's not even. No, I haven't written the script. I lived all of this before. I died before. So this time when I came back, okay, cool. I already know what everything is going to happen. Swing and a miss. And he said, yeah, if either you can take over this job and I can finally retire and not have to deal with this shit anymore, or you kill me, this all starts all over again, and then I wind up right back here again. Yeah, I'm like there is no way that the man is sane. He can't be. It would not be possible. The human mind is not meant to look. We live and die for a reason. The human mind is not meant to live, in infinity and have those kind of powers. No, you like it's unnatural, and he has to be crazy. So yeah, I'm like, and now I'm starting to go crazy thinking about all of the crazy shit he's had to do, over possibly trillions of years. The point is that people were saying, like that had a problem with the Jonathan Majors performance and saying that it was too over the top, obviously have not thought about the shit that character had has endured. And again, we have no idea how long he has been alive at all. But I love the fact that they didn't necessarily name him. So for people who have no idea that he is Kang the Conqueror or a variant of Kang the Conqueror, uh, it leaves a bit of mystery. But it also still leaves a bit of mystery for us who are into this as well, because we're like, okay, is this Kang the Conqueror? Is he Immortus? Is he who remains? Is he, the guy who maybe once was Iron Lad? Is he Pharaoh Ramit Tut? Like, there's so many different versions of him, and the thing that I'm, that I had thought about years ago, back when uh, back when Fox wasn't owned by Disney, was if they bring up Kane the Conqueror in the MCU right now, you can't make him a descendant of Reed Richards because no rights on the Fantastic Four. What if they made him a descendant of Iron Man? And then I saw a video maybe about a week ago that was saying, yeah, you know what? I think it's possible that he might be a descendant of Tony Stark, which would make perfect sense. I mean, look at his tempad. His tempad looks like the the wristwatch things that they all had in Endgame. So I mean, hey, could be. I'm just look. I love the ending. I love the fact that it wasn't all about action here and there. I love the quiet moments where he sat, and made Loki have to come to grips with the fact that, you know, not only has everything that he thought he did kind of been futile, but now for the first time he actually is going to have a choice as to what to do. And this is the first time that he's actually going to have to really deal with responsibility, and how is he going to deal with that? And unfortunately his counterpart was not um was not willing to accept the fact that she had this great responsibility laid before her. But again, her life experience, I mean, she had been hunted, and she doesn't even know what she did wrong. Like, you have no idea what she even did wrong to be hunted. We don't know what she did wrong, you know. So this is definitely one of those things where I love the mystery of it. I love the fact that, you know, a Loki is gonna be a Loki. You can change the name, you can change the hair color, you can change the gender, all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, Loki is going to be Loki. And now we have, you know, the one that we've been following in a different timeline where nobody knows him. And what is he going to do now, you know, that uh now that he has to face consequences of not taking uh, oh man, for he has to face the consequences of allowing himself to fall in love. And you know, again, like even though he thought that the whole love is a dagger metaphor made no sense, this makes perfect sense. Because he what happened? He reached for love and it was not there. And damn, like that's got to be the hardest kick in the nuts ever. You fall in love with yourself only to find out that yourself does not love you back. Yeah. So Kanye West, if you're watching, take notes. This is why you don't fall in love with yourself, right? And I am done with my soliloquy.
Woo! That is why I am so happy that we finally got to do this and talk about it with everybody, because we were missing a major piece of the puzzle when we, you know, like Darrin and Corey and I got to have our 2 cents, and we did not get our fourth. You know, our agent Williams, who's usually there. We didn't get to hear what he had to say. We didn't get to hear what Marc had to say. I know Alyssa would have loved to have given her 2 cents on this too, if she could have been here. Maybe on another video sometime. There's so much, because I mean, we had all kind of like decided that it was just going to be a Loki, right? It was just going to be a Loki at the end. And then you got Jonathan Majors sitting there, who I just freaking love. And if you're going to go out on the season on an exposition dump, this is how you do it. You know, I would have I wanted more. Absolutely. I absolutely wanted more. But that's just a way of showing how much we like it and how much we're ready to keep going. And no, we need the next part already. And they know it. They know they've got us on the hook. They know we're going to be back. They know that there's going to be so much speculation and water cooler talk for another year. So it's like, on one hand, it sucks because we didn't get as much as we wanted, but on the way they see it is they've got our money. They're going to have more money from us, and we're going to be ready to just keep watching and keep watching. And I really love your guys' takes. And of course, that could be leading. I grabbed some comics that are kind of fitting, like that could be leading into our big Secret Wars that are hopefully going to be part of this. Like the Jonathan Hickman one, I think, is where they're probably headed towards. I do also have Giant Size Avengers #2, which this is an old book. And this deals with Ramatut and his origin. And so you got Kang and Ramatut here. This deals with all of that. And it's crazy. This is also the issue that Hawkeye joins the Avengers. And to go into like a little bit of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier stuff, just briefly, this is the first appearance of the Power Broker in thing number 35. Also a new Miss Marvel, or an older Miss Marvel that might play into the Miss Marvel series in some way, because I think that that might be something. And then for the Madripoor part, Marvel Comics presents #1, the first, like one of the stories that's with Patch in Madripoor. That's actually
I had that one.
Did you?
Yeah,
it's one of the first stories of Wolverine as Patch and Madripoor. Wolverine #1 is actually like more of the real full story, but those were some books that I'm excited about. Like that being important for what's going on. I guess an honorable mention would be something that I think will come up as Fantastic Four number 570, which is the first appearance of the Council of Reeds, which I think will be a big thing later on. Yeah, with the multiverse, I think eventually. But that's great. Do you guys have anything more? Darrin, do you have anything you want to add about Loki now that we've heard their... I'm mute. You're on mute.
Thank you. Just a couple things. One, I know that some people didn't like how Loki ended versus like WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier. I mean, one of the differences, those shows ended and this is a continuation. But in some ways, I think maybe if you look because of that, if you think of episode 5 as being the end of season 1 and episode 6 really being the first episode of season 2, it kind of flows a little differently. You kind of get your, big cliffhanger as they enter in to the big unknown after the void and to the big castle. And then you get your big exposition setup, which you normally get in an episode 1 of a series of a season, where it sort of sets up where we're going. And that's kind of because it is setting up the multiverse and a lot of things happening and through the rest of the MCU through phase 4. I don't know. For me, just looking at it that way kind of shifted how the show ended. It made a little bit more sense in that sense. But also, while we know that Jonathan Majors was hired as Kang after they finished filming Loki, it's because this is what got Jonathan Major the job. They brought him in to do He Who Remains with the idea of Kang, but they weren't sure. And his performance, they were like, yeah, he's Kang. And so that's what actually ended up really getting him the job. So it's kind of weird as we know that he was cast as Kang before the show here, but finishing this show actually is what ended up leading to that role for him in many ways. So I thought that was kind of a cool thing. It's like, oh, so this is his audition. And because it's such a different variant, he can play Kang entirely different, which is what I'm really excited about. Because, yeah, Don's right. It makes sense that this version would be a nutbag because you can't even imagine what his point of view is at this point. Whereas Kang's the conqueror through time. He's not going to be in a way as evolved. So he could be played entirely different and still working. And that's what I'm excited about. Is what are these? Jonathan Major, I think, can make these variations so massively different and sell each one of them. I'm really excited to see that.
The one thing I would like to add, I would like to echo everyone's sentiments about Jonathan Major's performance being amazing in this episode, and the people who say that he was too hammy over the top are objectively wrong, because I've heard that opinion as well from several places. I'm like, no, like you're missing the point of it. Like it's supposed to be. It's actually a really brilliant performance. But anyway.
And I do want to again thank my awesome chat out there, my buddies, Bill, Rena, Devra, Desiree, Paul, everybody that's been putting stuff up in the chat. Love you guys. So that's pretty much, I don't really have much to say other than bring on Loki season 2. I can't wait for where it's going to go. The next thing we're talking about though, and again, D and I and Corey got to talk about this in great length, and the more I sit on it, the more I'm having problems with it. And that bums me out. But not as more as the problems that I have with the other topic, but we're switching gears and talking about Black Widow. Now, I don't know if you saw it, Marc. I know Don did, and he has some thoughts on Black Widow. Like I said, we went into great detail. We talked, I think, longer about Black Widow than we did about Loki. And I mean, I like it. I like it. I like it. Do I? I don't know if I like it. It's like I know there's parts in there that I like. I know that there's acting I like. There's things in there that I like. But the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I don't know if I really like it. So I want to hear from you guys after we talked about this in great detail. about Black Widow. Let's start with you, Mark, if you've seen it or not, if you have any thoughts on it.
I have seen it. And my thoughts on it is now this might shock you, but my thoughts on it is yeah, it's fine. It was okay. It's yeah, it was. I mean, it was a movie. I think it was definitely one of the weaker MCU outings and that we've seen it in a long time. I think Black Widow is a great character who deserves a little bit more. I did think, like someone said, that she was just a bystander in her own film, which I disagree with. I think we do get more into her character. I like the interactions between her sister. I think her sister's a really interesting character because I knew that this film was basically just a way to introduce this new character, which I think is that's what kind of sells it short. Like, this film should have come out a couple years ago, and that's the hard thing about it. But I do like the character of although I can't recall her name, but I do like the character of her sister, and I think it did if that was his job to introduce this character and get you excited for her place in the MCU going forward, I think it's his job. But to have a whole movie where that's the whole only takeaway, and the rest, the rest of the plot with the villain was very generic, and the plot, was pretty generic. There's nothing about it really bothered me, but nothing about it also really got me excited. It's like, oh, what an amazing movie! This is totally worth it. So it was fine. It was a decent movie that existed. Probably, maybe I would put it slightly above Thor: The Dark World, but it's kind of on that level. Because Thor: The Dark World was just silly, yes, and that same level of mediocrity, which is a step backwards for the MCU. But I think because this was supposed to be the first thing in Phase 4. So I think they were taking it, because they had to pretty much start over again, and so that I just assume it's going to improve from here out. Although the Eternals don't look all that great to me, but we'll see. I'll reserve judgment for that one. But I think that's pretty much that's pretty much all I got to say about that one.
Yeah, I don't know about the Eternals, and I know those characters a little bit, and I don't know, and I mean I would almost it's definitely probably a little bit better than Thor: Dark World, and I also kind of feel like it's like Captain Marvel, where I'm just kind of it exists, they both exist, it's fine, it's kind of fine, but at the same time both of those movies just had some things really wrong with it. And yeah, this should have been out forever ago. And I'm gonna kick it off to Don next. So Don, all right, I'm ready. I'm ready to hear it. Here we go.
So, Black Widow, great way to stumble, Marvel. Listen, this is not a Phase 3 movie. This is not a Phase 4 movie. This is a Phase 1 movie. This is we still have not found our footing and our style just yet. We are experimenting and, throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping that it sticks. It's definitely one of those things where I watched it and I was like Captain Marvel, like Thor: The Dark World, this should have been before the first Avengers movie, which is basically when, like in terms of the quality of movie, because it looks great because they've gotten down their visual quality at this point. But as far as the storytelling was concerned, I was like, this reminds me more of like, you know, Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, you know, Captain America, the First Avenger, you know, but not done as well, you know. And that was an issue that I had with Captain Marvel. Was like, yeah, this doesn't remind me of your newer MCU films. You know, the things where it's like, oh, the storytelling is top notch. I can see, you know, like I can see in a few years if they just keep on, you know, up in the game with the story, who knows? I might get, you know, nominated for an Academy Award. But this, I'm just like, yeah, this is a very, very run of the mill, you know, paint by numbers superhero film. You know, it's like, oh yeah, we're just gonna, you know, try to Jason Bourne it, and you know, you didn't do it as well. Sorry. I wanted to love the movie, you know, because I like Scarlett Johansson as an actress. You know, I like the entire cast. Honestly speaking, I love, you know, I like all of them as you know, thespians of the screen. But I don't think this did. I don't think this did any of them any justice. You got your fake James Bond villain, you know, with the whole Black Widow thing, and it's like, yes, you thought you killed my daughter, but I turned her into weapon. And for people who did not like what they did to Taskmaster, I can't blame you because Taskmaster is not, you know, I put on a helmet and now I can copy your moves. Taskmaster is I look at you and I copy your moves, and I don't need the damn helmet to do it. All right. Taskmaster fought Captain America to a stalemate to the point where Captain America had to ask Taskmaster to train him. You know, like, come on, you know you have to be something special when you beat Captain America, and Captain America's like, all right, hey, listen, I got some free time next Wednesday. You mind, you know, go down to the gym and you can show me a couple things? Yeah, yeah, so look, and it's not that this was like it's not that it was a horrible movie because it wasn't. We have seen horrible movies. This was not a horrible movie, but it was such a step back in quality that you know what? That's the thing that Scarlett Johansson should have sued over. You know, forget about the payday. You should have sued because it's like people are gonna look at this movie and be like, how did they make? How did you step back so far? You had, you know, Infinity War, you had Endgame, which are two, you know, for a superhero movie with all the over the top shit that goes on in the MCU. Those are practically as close as you're going to get to masterpieces, right? And while Spider-Man, you know, Far From Home, I guess was kind of the epilogue to the whole, you know, Infinity Saga or whatever. It didn't feel like a step down. It's like, okay, you know, we were winding things down. This is the aftermath of what happened. And this just kind of shows you how fractured the world is that now Spider-Man has to work on his own because there isn't even an Avengers anymore. But now with Black Widow, it's kind of like, yeah, all right, now not only are we telling a story that we should have told years ago, we're not telling it as good as we could have. That is the thing that Scarlett Johansson should be suing them over. Is the fact that this just was not the quality that it should have been if you're going to say, okay, well, all right, fuck it, we're you know gonna toss this movie out here. We're gonna promote it. We're gonna tell everybody, yeah, you know, Black Widow. Look out for Scarlett Johansson, Black Widow, and now you got you know, the other girl. I forgot what the actress name is, but I know that the character's name is Yelena, So you got
Florence
uh
Pugh.
yes, thank you, you got David Harbour as bootleg Russian Captain America. Is he gonna do shit? Yeah, he's gonna be comic relief because like I know like there's a lot of people who are gonna be like, oh, the wokeness. They had to downplay David Harbour and make him a buffoon. Look, at the end of the day, I think it was more of the fact that he is based off of like some stereotype or something like that, and they wanted to play off of that more than it's like, oh, he's a man, must make man buffoon. Like I said, I definitely wasn't digging the villain with his whole mustache twirly. I'm knockoff Goldfinger and all that. You know, I expect you to die, Black Widow. Like, no, come on, man. Uh, so yeah, I mean, I wanted to love the movie. I bought this damn hat months ago, the freaking Taskmaster hat months ago. Um, and I don't want to kick a dead horse at this point. Look, it, it just wasn't what it should have been, and especially for the time period in which it was released. If this was released, uh, if this was released 4 or 5 years ago, I might have felt different about it. And it just would have been part of the list, and they're like, okay, I just gonna have to move it down now. Here, like it starts damn near at the bottom, and that's the worst part about it.
I would like to retract a statement that I made earlier, if I may. I said that there wasn't anything that bothered me about the movie, but there was one thing that really bothered me about the movie. The amount of times that Black Widow should be dead in this movie. Like, I know it's a comic book movie, you gotta have some suspension of disbelief, but come on, like, she's not super powered, and like all these times, like she's flying through the air and shit's hitting her. Dead, you're dead now, then you're dead then. And so yeah, that bothered me.
Yeah, we talked about that in great length of just she was like Wile E. Coyote falling off that building, man. She hit everything on the way down and still did a superhero pose when her ankles should have broken when they hit the ground at the very least. It's just she was like the characters from Fast and the Furious at this point, where they can just do whatever like superheroes as well. They just fly around, catch people with cars and everything. It got ridiculous. And yeah, this should have come out 4 years ago. I mean, all that stuff, has been said, but yeah, she got a raw deal. They put her in a bad movie. They put her in a mediocre, at the very best, movie. And I when they talk about all the money that she was supposed to make because of the rights and all that stuff, that's the stuff that I tune out because I don't feel bad for millionaires to get to play pretend. So that you're falling on deaf ears on that part. But if there was a way to sue for being in a bad, a mediocre movie where they did the character a disservice, she was somebody that has been around since Iron Man 2, and they just didn't have any faith in it. It's how it feels like, and then they just go, well, now we got to introduce her sister, not sister, and we'll call it the Black Widow movie because there's Black Widows in it, and whatever. Let's move on to the next topic. So I don't know how many of you have seen the Tomorrow War. My initial review of the Tomorrow War was it is all right, and it was a small butt in the thumbnail. It just said a little butt. But the longer I sit on that movie, that little butt's become a great big padonkadonk. And I just, oh boy, that movie. And look, the best part of that movie is J.K. Simmons. He's almost always the best part, even though what they do with him, there's some ridiculousness stuff at the end and all that. But he's still like the stuff between him and Chris Pratt I liked. But I want to know what you guys thought of it. I don't know how many of you actually saw it. Did you see it, Don?
No, I didn't see it.
Okay, well, that's okay. I really want some other time. I'm gonna have to ask you, like, if you watch it, but if you haven't seen it by now, like if you got nothing to do and you get sick, like if you're like laid low or something, and it's like just some rainy Sunday and you just got nothing to do, and you just have watched everything else, then watch the Tomorrow War and we'll talk. But Darrin, you've seen it?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Like, all right, big thing to watch. I did. It's funny you mentioned J.K. Simmons because I remember a few years ago when he got cast as Gordon, there was a shot that came out of him working out. They're like, oh my God, man, this could be like the super buff Gordon. Till you realize now he was training for this film because he had the whole beard and everything in the shots. It's just one of those funny little things. When I watched this, I was like, oh, this is what he was working on then. Wow, we shot this a long time ago. How long has this been sitting around through the editing and stuff? At least a good year or so.
I don't know if this would have qualified. I don't think it qualifies for the time loop stuff that you guys were doing. This almost isn't even really a time travel movie, really. It's more of a dimension hopping movie. And it just, none of it just, in the end, just, it's so predictable. And as much as I thought at first, like I was like, oh, the aliens look kind of, no, they sucked. I hated them. And there was some real potential to make a really interesting, different movie. And then they just really relied too much on, this is a Chris Pratt vehicle and aliens and typical comic relief. It felt like somebody trying to copy Roland Emmerich, and I don't even like Roland Emmerich movies. So it's somebody. I'm sorry, I never liked Roland Emmerich movies. I didn't like Independence Day. I didn't like The Day After Tomorrow. I didn't like 2012. I don't like those kind of movies, and they always get people I really, really like to be in those movies. I mean, Jake Gyllenhaal doesn't want to be in comic book movies, but he was in A Day After Tomorrow. Really, Jake?
Early in his career.
But Marc, what did you think of the Tomorrow War?
Yeah, so pretty much echoing you guys here. The more I think about it, the more I don't like it. I was never really impressed with it to begin with. The whole I couldn't even begin to cover how many plot holes there are in this movie and how the plot doesn't actually make any sense. Like the whole concept of the time travel thing, I was like, wait, hold on. So if this was like this and that, what? But none of it makes any sense. It's like, it's a stupid premise and I really don't like it. And I will say, I actually wasn't a big fan of J.K. Simmons in this film. Not that I had any issue with his performance acting. He's always an amazing actor. But I didn't like the whole, his character, his whole thing. Oh, I'm the rough dad and blah, blah. It seemed really rushed and thrown in there. And the way he shut up at the end, I'm going to save the day. We're going to reconcile. Felt way too Hollywoody nitty. The only thing that I liked about this movie that I could hang my hat on was the relationship between Chris Pratt character and his daughter. And I'm gonna shy away from spoilers, so that's all I'll say, is that their relationship is the one thing I thought that handled right, that I got an emotional handle on. But the stuff that Chris Pratt did when he was in the future, all the side characters, they were so poorly developed. They were just generic comic relief. I had no attachment to them whatsoever, to any of these characters, and they brought them back at the end like you're supposed to believe they're a big thing and you're supposed to be invested in them in any way, shape, or form. And also, again, I'm going to avoid spoilers, but the ending of the film like renders the entire plot pointless. Like the whole plot of the film is like, we got to get this thing because we need this thing. And they didn't even need the thing. There was no point to it. So why did I bother? We're spending all this time. Like, why did he do all these things? So, yeah, I didn't like this. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
And one of my things that just was while I was watching it, and it just still bothers me, is why did he have to seek out the help of a student in his class when he could easily, with who he was working with, to get somebody who actually, a scientist who knows about volcanoes? No, he's got to go talk to some 12-year-old about volcanoes because he's doing a science project on volcanoes and he'll know. Like it just, there's the story behind this is that it was supposed to be released in theaters, right? Paramount was going to put it out in theaters, and then somehow, they're trying to blame COVID on this. Like, oh well, we just got to get it. We just got to put this out here. But this just feels like, again, like how Disney Plus put Luca on Disney Plus right away. It was, you know what I mean? Like, and didn't charge you for it like they do everything else, and it just shows faith, I think, in these projects. And it's like, yeah, you can get as many big stars as you want to be in this thing, but a dog is a dog. And so they gave it to Amazon Prime, and it's not the first time that this has happened. And it's like, look at Netflix. Look at all of Netflix's supposedly big ass awesome movies that were supposed to be really great. And, maybe you like them on some level. And sometimes there are redeeming things in some of these movies, but like the one with Chris Hemsworth as a soldier, I was like, man, this is supposed to be great. And it's just like, it's just middle of the road, mediocre. It had a couple of good moments. That Triple Frontier with Oscar Isaac and Ben Affleck and all those guys. And it was supposed to be this great, big, awesome thing that's going to change everything. And it sucked. It had a couple of good moments, but it sucked. And it's like they try to sell these things like, oh, look at this big, great, big Amazon Prime. Get a subscription for this movie. And it's like, no, this is not. You get the free trial, man. What you do is you cancel your subscription. You set up a new email account and you do the free trial like over again, just so you can cancel it right after. And then, because this is not what, they're putting out these things that are supposed to be subscription worthy. And while HBO Max with Suicide Squad, yeah, this is definitely a subscription thing where, like people are going to big blew up, and like Disney Plus has already got that knocked down. Every time they put out something, it's going to add more subscribers to it. But things like this is like Amazon Prime is becoming like Netflix. They've got some all right stuff, but they're starting to just be as bad as Netflix when it comes to just churning out garbage. And Amazon Studios is been an Oscar contender, with really great stuff. But this isn't an Amazon original. This is a Paramount knockoff. And they just slapped the Amazon original on there, and when it's their stuff, it's all right. But when they dive into this territory where they're just scraping the bottom of the barrel and somebody's looking to unload their crap, it makes me think of my job and how all of a sudden we'll have a truck full of just this random garbage that nobody can sell anywhere else. So they drop it off at our store and say, here's 6 cases of sparkling Polish water for $1.99. And we're going to send you 6 pallets full of this stuff. But we don't want it, but you can have it, like let's just pass it off to you. And that's just what it just reminds me of. Just like somebody just trying to unload some garbage that they couldn't get, anyone else to buy or sell or watch. And that's the Tomorrow War. And I hate saying that because there are good people in this movie, but it's like they took all these just horrible things that we hate, things that they know we hate, things that people like that we talk about. They just know we're going to rip it to shreds, but they just rely on the people that just want to see Transformers 12 to watch this movie. And I'll tell you what, man, if I didn't like Prime's, Prime delivery, this was like one of those where I'm like, do I really need to watch the show House for the millionth time? I should just cancel my Prime. Like it just made me want to cancel my Prime. But like, no, I really do love House MD, so I won't cancel. But
well, you need it for The Boys in the Expanse. That's why you need it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd re-up. I'd re-up then, but I would save myself like $30 or $40 in the meantime,
That's why I think, don't they make you pay for the whole year though? Isn't that how Prime is set up?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought that's how it worked.
That's how they get
Nope.
you. You're just
Nope.
paying for shipping. The shows are bonuses as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I pay for shipping, but I only pay by month. I only pay for the month.
Oh, okay.
I should pay for the year at this point, but yeah, we do have The Boys to look forward to. So we're about done. We've talked about a lot of stuff. You can tell that the quality of what we were talking about started to dip, and that's why we were taking less and less time to talk about these things. But they were still things that exist in the world, and that we all hadn't gotten a chance to talk about it. This was the pop culture catch-up. There was one last little thing, and that was I was going to mention the Venom trailer. If anybody had seen that, I've seen the Venom trailer. I thought it looks fun. I'm more concerned about the runtime of this. I want it to be longer than the original, which was just it was over way too quick. It felt way too fast, and don't end with an Eminem song this time. I'm really curious about what Woody Harrelson's going to bring to this. I do know they changed the hair from the original cut, where it was that big curly over the top cartoon hair, like that's from the comic book. I like that they changed that. Because Woody Harrelson plays crazy good. I think the special effects in the trailer still are just, you either like them or you don't. I liked the symbiote stories. I also know they're introducing Naomi Harris as Shriek, who's another powered character who's going to be like Carnage in the comics. Well, here we go. Spider-Man Unlimited #1 is the first appearance of Shriek, who is like the kind of Mallory to Carnage's Mickey. If you want to like put a little, natural born killer spin on that thing, where she's a pretty awful villain and teams up with Carnage to kill people. I'm excited to see with what they do with that. Anybody have any opinions on that trailer that saw it that's different from me?
I agree definitely about the hair, and Harrelson, he can do good stuff, and it's another one of those things. What? Please don't let this be Tomorrow War. Look, they've got a good cast, and Tom Hardy found a real interesting take on the character and how to play that. I don't know if that can be maintained, and I am not sure of their ability to really craft an effective film around it. The first one wasn't. I had issues with it. There's a lot of stuff I enjoyed. Tom Hardy and his stuff was hilarious. The first time Venom showed up and Hardy's apologizing as he's like whooping the ass out of everyone around him, that was perfect. There were so many great moments. But it's Sony, man. I don't have faith in their ability to pull it off. Do I want them to? Yes. But I don't know if they have it in them. So I don't know. I'm lukewarm to positive, but not much more than that. I don't have a lot of faith what this is going to end up being.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I said I tweeted about it, and I know it's passive aggressive of me to do it, but like whatever. I said that they're trying to be a part of their own universe and Marvel universe, and we know they're going to fuck it up eventually. If left in their own hands, they are. It's the pattern. We've seen it in other things. It's not like we're just like going, yeah, no, we just really need to. No, their pattern is eventually they get things messed up, and it took them only between Amazing Spider-Man, which was okay, and then to just immediately take a nosedive into the side of a fucking mountain with Amazing Spider-Man 2, and they'll just do it again. And just because Spider-Verse is really, really good, that's a whole other thing. That is a whole other thing, a whole other story, and you can do and get away with so much more in animation. But in the movies that Sony does, it's just their track record is just spotty. at best. And so that's my major concern as well, is that if they just leaned into the Marvel side more and let Marvel take the lead and just take the money, let them do it. Just take the money. Marvel will do it. Just so that they can have control over continuity and things like that. And they'll pay you the money if you really put, I don't know, maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but it really them trying to create their own thing with Morbius, which I don't like Jared Leto very much, so I'm not really looking forward to that. And you got the return of this, like they're probably going to try to set up the Sinister Six and all that. And it's just when you start thinking about where they're really going long term with this, it's making me just feel kind of and how long while they're screwing it up will they try to reboot it again if it's not going right? Because that's the other thing, is they just keep trying and they keep eventually failing. And I know that it still makes money for them, but I just, the way that they do it, I don't know. Anybody else? I've ranted a long time.
Listen, you know what? I actually never saw the first Venom. The trailers never, grabbed me at all. And then also the fact that it's like, all right, this is not connected to the MCU. What is its purpose? I was kind of like, whatever. The trailer for Venom 2, listen, I think it's a vast improvement in terms of grabbing my interest, because I do want to see Woody Harrelson as Carnage. Um, but yeah, again, this is still the whole thing of, all right, well, you guys just want to make money off of Spider-Man and anything Spider-Man related by any means necessary. And so, yeah, at some point, it's going to be like, what's going to be next? Venom and Carnage versus the Sinister Six, or Venom and Carnage versus Hobgoblin, because these guys said they wanted to use Green Goblin for the next Spider-Man movie. Oh yeah, listen, Maximum Carnage, yeah, but they'll probably wind up spinning it off into the Venom clone saga instead of the Spider-Man clone saga or some shit like that. So trust me, I'm with you. Sony Sony is going to find a way to totally say, okay, well, how can we milk this for everything it's worth before the fans tell us to fuck off, and then Marvel's looking at us like, come on, dude, we gave you that golden fucking goose here, and instead you laid stink eggs. Um, so listen, I am cautiously optimistic for Venom 2, but yeah, the caution is about 70%. So, you know, uh, listen, guys, can whoever's, hey, you guys listening? Hey, you guys over at Sony, do me a favor. Stop ruining people's careers, okay? Stop ruining people's careers. Stop ruining franchises. Let the people who know what people like us want and will pay you for, let them do their fucking jobs, and you sit back and you say, oh, this is a nice residual check. Thank you. Okay? Yeah, let the people who know what the hell they're doing do their jobs. Or I'm gonna send that guy to eat you and your children. Alright? Cause yeah. Alright? Let the people who know what they're doing do their fucking jobs. You can stop ruining my damn entertainment, you bastards. Alright, that's enough. So it's enough out of me.
Yeah, I can't believe I didn't do that already. I should have had that on the whole time. I should have done the whole thing about it as Venom, but I know I think I lost. I said I didn't like Jared Leto very much. But I couldn't tell. We'll talk about Morbius again. Like I have a lot of confidence that this will be okay. But if I'm only saying okay, I want it to be great. I want it to be really great, and I hope that the trailers and the trailer that they had and everything is not indicative of what I got out of the first trailer of the first Venom, because the first Venom, it kind of grabbed me, but not really. And I agree with you on that, Don. Absolutely. This one grabbed me a little bit more, but that's because we've got another symbiote that's not some guy experimenting on him. This is an established character with Woody Harrelson playing it. That's the big change. The guy who played him, Riz Ahmed, I think is his name.
Mm-hmm.
I like that guy, but he was just generic scientist, evil Roxxon type guy who gets a symbiote and power hungry and blah blah blah. But this is something that's spawn. It's the spawn of Venom. It's scary to Venom. And you've got a maniac in control of it, and he's got a girlfriend with superpowers. It's also good at killing. So the stakes are better. They're higher. The cast is better. Everything just seems better. I'm cautiously optimistic about it as well. And I know you didn't see the trailer, Mark.
Well, I did want to chime in though. Yeah. So I didn't see the trailer, but hopefully they didn't put the end of the movie in the trailer this time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Was like they put the final scene of the movie in the trailer. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why would you do that? But anyway,
Sony special.
I did see the first Venom movie, and I was so I didn't hate it, but I was so disinterested in it. I actually read these Spider-Man comics when I was a kid in the 80s. I remember reading the whole storyline with Peter Parker finding the black suit and it taking him over, and it was like a long, drawn-out, interesting storyline. And eventually, the black suit became its own demon that started haunting him. That was great. What they did in this Sony Venom movie was nothing like that. You missed all the appeal, all the character. It was just, here's evil symbionts going, and it was just, I'm not interested in that. So I don't even know if I'll bother. That's why I didn't watch the trailer, and I don't even know if I'll bother with the sequel. Give me Venom in the MCU as a Spider-Man villain proper with the storyline of Peter Parker finding the black suit. Until then, Sony can just fuck off. I mean, really.
I absolutely
Take
agree
time
with that.
to build it up.
Exactly.
But all the villains have to be heroes now, right? I mean, I've praised them. I've praised them in the comics, eventually rehabilitating some of these characters that you've just been running around in circles with them, and I like what they've done in the comics. But Deadpool was a great villain, and then but it's been 20 years since he's been a kind of good guy, and it's now people are getting tired of it. And Harley Quinn. And now Venom is a hero too. And while all those characters in the comics, they've taken those years and developed those characters so that becoming a hero organically works. But just starting them out as good guys when everybody in the audience knows that they're villains, it's just again, all the villains have to be heroes. And I like Bill Casey his comment in the chat, who was saying that Shriek's superpower is Venom's weakness, which is interesting. So I think he just predicted some stuff that'll happen in the movie. He usually does. But yeah, I think that's about all we got. We've covered a ton of stuff. I don't know if anybody has any more to say on that subject. Probably not. I don't know.
Well, the only thing that I wanted to toss in is, and this kind of actually affects a lot of the superhero films coming forward, is, do we think they're going to keep the release dates? I know we still haven't seen a Spider-Man trailer, and a lot of people are wondering if that's become, even the trailer for Venom doesn't give a date. It says this fall. So I don't know. I hate to put a downer thought out there on everyone, but I was sort of curious.
Venom, I think, is supposed to be coming out like real soon. September, I think.
Yeah, Shang-Chi's the 3rd. Venom is the 25th of September, I think. And then Eternals is November. So, I mean, we've got like a flurry of stuff that's about to come. I don't know.
But no definites. Yeah, there really are no
definites.
I
don't want to think about that.
Sorry, you can't everyone. Keep pushing back. No. I appreciate a little cold water to the face at this point, because you need it so that you're not surprised completely if things go sideways. So I always like to have a little caution to everything. But so that'll do it for tonight, everybody. I want to thank these 3 gentlemen for joining me on this inaugural episode of TMI with Rob. This was definitely too much information. That's the point of this whole thing, is to really say what we want and get it all out there. I appreciate you guys understanding that you guys can fucking swear as much as you want, because I don't care.
Booger.
I don't work for the algorithm, and so I'm going to be doing another TMI soon. That's going to be dealing with. I got a couple of them planned out. One is about customer service and society, and how you all aren't that great of people that you think you are. When you treat people in the customer service industry like dog shit, it says a lot about you as people.
Oh, hell
so we're going to be having a TMI about that coming up really soon. And I'm also going to be making a video for the new documentary, and it's also going to be kind of a TMI because I'm going to get personal. And it's for that Val Kilmer documentary, Val, that I just watched, which was phenomenal. And I'm going to talk a lot about that because that just hit me in a lot of places. And it's not really going to be a review. I don't know how you review this, but I got a lot to say about it. But enough about me. I want to give you guys the last chance to say where everybody can find you, and if you have any last final thoughts for anything else that we were talking about, if you want to throw in one more thing or two about any of the topics. I'll start with you, Don, and you can tell everybody where you're at, and any final thoughts.
Yeah, so final thoughts. Listen, for the stuff that we did discuss that I did see, look, you guys already obviously know how I feel about it. If you watch the video, especially if you made it this far on the replay. But look, you can find me on Twitter at iDonWillie. That's IDonWilli. Find me on YouTube at a Don of Ice and Fire. I guess eventually I'm gonna have to start making more Game of Thrones centered videos at some point. But until then, you can find me with this guy here. Thank you for having me, Rob. Thank you very much. You can also find me with this guy here, Darrin from D's Reviews, every now and then. And then also with that guy up there, Marc from Enchantment of Eternity. They are very gracious enough to allow me onto their platform to speak my gibberish into the air. So thank you for everyone who's watching, and I will turn it over to whoever shall be going next.
I just fucking pointed at the screen like an idiot. Like, hey, you can see my finger, right, Darrin? You can see me pointing at you, right?
I was watching. I was like, okay, where's it going? Now I lost it. Hey, I'm D. I'm over at D's Reviews. We just finished reviewing some of the Marvel shows. I'm not doing anything personal with What If, but I will be jumping over to this guy's sister, Alyssa Jean's channel, where I'm going to get to talk about a couple episodes. I think I'm going to be talking episodes 2 and 5 over there, which I'm really excited about. And then, of course, as more of the Marvel movies, Hawkeye and such come through, you can find reviews with a bunch of these guys also over on my channel as well. I did want to throw one last little thing, Don, when you were mentioning about the Black Widow family. It did make me realize that they did just create the sitcom American Family with the big dumb dad and the very smart mom and the troublemaking fighting kids, which I guess kind of missed me on that one. Yes, and we will be having Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 4 reviews coming up shortly. So, yeah, that's going to be a good one. What about this guy right here? What's going on, Marc?
So, my name is Marc, not the Polka Dot Man, and you can find me on my channel, Enchantment of Eternity. I do a lot of videos. I do like 2 or 3 a week. I'm mostly on Star Trek. I'm also going through Better Call Saul, doing a rewatch of that. Also, I just finished season 1 of Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and my review for that will come out soon. I'll be covering every season of that. Yeah, that's about it. So, also did want to plug my sister's channel, Alyssa Jean. She recently just put her channel up. She just uploaded a whole bunch of videos. She did a review for Loki and a review for Falcon and Winter Soldier, which she hated even more than I did. And so you can check that out. Also, yes, I will be going on her channel every week to review What If. And of course, these gentlemen and other various guests will join us throughout. So yeah, be sure to join us for that. Also on my channel, I will be covering Star Trek Lower Decks, which also starts next week. And I'm really looking forward to that. It's my favorite of the modern Star Trek shows. And I think it's going to get even better, but we'll see. But anyway, yeah, be sure to check me out for that.
What is Alyssa's channel name so that everybody out there can go sub to it right now?
Oh God, I believe it is Alyssa Jean Reviews.
All right, awesome.
Yeah,
right, so anybody out there who watches this,
on the algorithm it says Alyssa Jean. Yeah.
Awesome. So everybody out there who watches this, go over there and check out her videos, throw her likes, some subscribes. Let's help build up her community like we've got here, and we've all built amongst ourselves. We've all got a group of people that really like our content, and let's just continue the love and spread it around to everybody else. So anyway, that's it. Again, I can't thank these guys enough for sticking around this long and talking about too much information with me on all these topics. This was a hell of a good time. This is the highlight of my week, which shows I've had a pretty bad week. Because we talked about some pretty bad movies, and it's kind of hard to relive all that. But it's great when you have good company and great conversation, even if you're talking about stuff that you don't like that much all the time. So anyway, we'll be back with more stuff on my channel. I'm a little inconsistent all the time, but we've got more stuff coming this week. We just finished Doctor Who season 9. We just finished season 2 of The Leftovers. We just started Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. season 4 reviews that were actually recorded like 7 months ago. And I'm just now finishing season 4 reviews. I'm just finally finishing recording those just in time to talk about the first half of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. season 4 on Darrin's channel, D's Reviews. So go subscribe to D's Reviews, Marc's Enchantment of Eternity. And even though he hasn't made any content, go just subscribe to Down of Ice and Fire just for the hell of it, because just get ahead of the game. Just get ahead of the game. He'll eventually be back there making Game of Thrones stuff, and then you can already have it in there ready to go. So anyway, this is Rob saying thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye. A long-ass end broadcast moment.